Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel for episode 5 of Dark Fun in the Dark Sun, which is also the start of our Road to Urik campaign. If you're not sure what happened in episode 4, make sure that you go check that out right here, and there should be a link in the description box. But basically we ended the Freedom campaign and now we're moving on. At this point, talking with the DM and all the players, we decided to expand to a character tree, which means that you will see our characters from Dark Fun in the Dark Sun and Welcome to the Dark Sun coming back into this, as well as new characters. So it's going to get really hectic here, and I think within the next week or so I'm going to try to do a character tree update, like these are the characters for this player, these are the characters for this player, and this is what they look like. So I guess with that, let's just get into the new characters. So first things first, I will go over my character. I am playing a halfling for the first time because I really like the fact that if you roll a 1, you can re-roll. And I've never played a halfling before and they kind of seem like they're fun. And I decided to be a monk, which is very similar to Nibbles from Welcome to the Dark Sun. But the main reason I wanted to be a monk was because I was actually going to double class Raylan and I totally forgot, and then I was like level 6 and it was too late. I mean, not actually too late, but I was enjoying her druidness. So my character is a female halfling monk. Her name is Sage. She has the hermit background, and I actually took her monastic tradition from Xanathar's guide, and it is the way of the sun soul. So she like gets to add lightning and fire to punches and stuff, which I think is pretty awesome. Next we have Shoji, and Shoji is a human fighter, and this is the first time we've had a human in Dark Sun, so should be interesting. And going down the samurai path, so that's really cool too. I believe that's also in Xanathar's. Xanathar is great. The background for Shoji is City Watch, and other than that, Shoji was a Templar before everything kind of went to hell there. So, it'll be really interesting to see how that character plays about. Also, the player playing Shoji was the player who played Bardock, for reasons that Bardock cannot get behind Calic being overthrown. Bardock basically took his giant scorpion Stingy and pieced out of the city. And if you're wondering about that, basically, Bardock was a mole and he was a former slave, but he managed to get free, and because he was a mole, he kind of had a better situation in life than some of the other slaves. And so that's why he didn't hate Calic so much. And also, he didn't realize Calic was a defiler. Didn't have all his marbles, that one. Next up we have Najila. She is an elf, and she is a psionic or a mystic, as I believe it's classed in 5th edition. And her school of magic, if you want to call it that, is the Wu Jin school. And like Sage, she also has a hermit background. We actually only had a table of 4 this time, so I have one more character to tell you about. And this is the most fun character. If you've been watching Dark Fun in the Dark Sun for a while, you know that we've got a couple large sun brothers. They're half giants and they're idiots, but we love them. Well, at the end of episode 4, they came across a half giant, and as we do, we rolled to see if the half giant was a large sun brother, and turns out one of them was. And so that half giant's name was Kilbig, and somebody decided to play him, which is like super awesome. So Kilbig's full name is Kilbig or Go Home Largeson, and he's actually a twin to Lord Jackhammer. And like his brother, he is a half-giant barbarian. And the path that he's chosen to take is the Zealot path there. Also, funny backstory is his background is a sailor because he thought he was signing up to join the army, and it didn't really work out for him. And then one day his silt skimmer had come into dock and he got off to like take a leak or something, and the silt skimmer left without him, and somehow he found himself in Calic's guard. So yeah, it should be a lot of fun with these characters. Like I said, it's super confusing. It's okay if you're confused. There are way too many large sun brothers and just way too many characters in general. But I will try, like I said, in the next week or so to kind of get a framework once everybody finishes rolling up their characters, because I think we still have 3 people to roll up characters, although one might not. Well, we'll see what happens. But as soon as I get all the characters, I will definitely do a big explanation, so if you're getting confused, you can always reference that. Alright, so basically, after the end of Freedom, Tyr kind of fell into a little bit of chaos. Tithian took up the reign as king, but there were a lot of vengeance killing. The Senate was dismantled, and in its place, a new council was set up with people representing the Templar, the nobles, the craftsmen, the free farmers, the tenant farmers, and the dispossessed. And the dispossessed is like the largest group because they were people who were slaves and now they're not. So, fun. Like I mentioned, Bardock disappeared with Stingy out of the Warrens, but we went back to the Warrens. But the characters from Welcome to the Dark Sun went back to the Warrens and collected everything and brought it to House Sten, which is the house that Nibbles and Regal inherited in Dark Fun and the Dark Sun. Are you confused yet? Yeah, so basically I think the way it works out is there's a bunch of different connections. Salentithius is with Thrycreen, and so is Drewdock the Bug. And they are friends with Chichikaran, aka Doug, who is friends with Raylan. They're like clutch mates, and so through that connection, there's definitely a way to get these guys into the House of Sten. And I'm like totally blanking on how everybody else knows each other, but I'll see if I can figure out the relationships for that update video, because it's, yeah. In any case, they're all friends now, they're working together, they're all going to live on this farm. If you remember in Welcome to the Dark Sun, we did have a dwarf slave Daitan, so we offered to pay him if he wanted to come work at the house as well, and he agreed to, and then we hired a couple more people just so it would make math easier when we have to pay them every day. I think in total there's about 20 workers on that farm. But if you remember, our characters from Welcome to the Dark Sun dealt with Cinder, and you know, she was a defiler, so she would have probably become a dragon and then come to Tyr, so Tithian wanted to recognize that as well. So he gave us land. In fact, he granted us Baladin's house. Now, if you remember Baladin from a long time ago, like one of the first episodes of Welcome to the Dark Sun, he had a djinn, and it was in a pipe, and he gave it to us to bring to his friend who was a slave in the Tyrian iron mines. Well, that went terribly wrong, but we managed to convince the djinn not to hurt us and send him back to Baladin's house, and then he burnt down Baladin's house and probably killed Baladin. So that's the property we got. But it's in the merchant district, so we could like open up a shop front to sell the wheat and food from House Sten, which is pretty awesome. Also, if you remember, Salentithius got really good at pottery, so he could sell it there as well. But back to the business of forming the new council. So we have a lot of different characters who were involved in a lot of different things, and so a couple of us went up for election, and I mean, people like us, so we became councilors. Representing the craftsmen, you have the greatest potter ever, Salentithius. Little Jenny is representing the nobles because she is a noble now. Lord Jackhammer, with his managerial skills that we know are so wonderful, decided to represent the dispossessed. And Grange decided that Halvar did such a great job during the revolution that he should be put up for election. And so with his brother, he is also representing the dispossessed. And it's great because it means that we get to sit in on the council meetings and know what's going on. The first order of business when we got to the council meeting was what to do with the old Templar district. A lot of the houses got destroyed during the Vengeance killing, and so the thought was we could sell them so the city doesn't have to repair them, or we could repair them and risk just emptying the coffers completely. Lord Jackhammer, amazing at representing the dispossessed, says that we should leave 20% of the houses that are burnt out and needing to be repaired for affordable housing. This went on and on and on before finally we agreed to table that and write a new bill, which we passed. That would see 80% sold and 20% left for affordable housing. Lord Jackhammer is a half giant beyond his time. The next bill that we had to pass though was to revoke the ban on literacy, and unanimously everybody was like, yeah, let's let people read. So that's awesome because now we don't have to hide it. In the midst of all the craziness a month ago, when Raylan was on top of the ziggurat trying to destroy it, she had seen the Tree of Life down in Calyx Garden, and the council meets right by there, so Salentithius, now being friends with Raylan, tried to get like a shaving off the tree to bring back to her to see if she could grow it. So we managed to do that, but turns out you can't grow it because it's like arcane magic imbued in the tree, but you know, he tried, just trying to help out his new clutchmate. Now that we're such a large group, we decided to have a vote to see if House Sten still really fit us, because we are like the Athasian partridge family basically. And we decided to name the farm anew to House Large Sten because it incorporates both sides. It's beautiful. But when we got back to House Large Sten from the council meeting, there was a message for Salentithius. Someone had paid good money to have a message sent through the Scions to Sal. And the message read this: "Dear patron, I can't begin to repay my debt. However, trouble is brewing for Tyr. King Hamanu, Sorcerer King of Urik, is sending an army towards Tyr to reopen the mines and take the city. Love, Dakos." I'm sure it didn't say love, but that's what Salentithius got from it. So if you remember way back in the day, Salentithius and his friends freed a gladiator, Dakos the dwarf. Salentithius gave him money, sent him and his family off to Urik, and ever since, whenever he can, Salentithius sends money his way. So that was super helpful. We have a family meeting about this because there's a lot of us, so we need to discuss what we want to do. The Largeson brothers go outside and start wrestling because that's what they do. But there are a lot of different opinions. So Salentithius wants to save the city because he really likes the prestige he gets when he does things like this. And he wants to bring Dakos and his family back to their original home. Sage wants a bloody battle and is excited to dine on the leftovers. Whereas Raylan is conflicted about protecting her family but just kind of disappearing out of the city because she wasn't from the city originally, she just ended up there and in slavery. Nibbles, meanwhile, is all about protecting her family because she had her family that was in the forest belt. They seem to be okay now, so she wants to take care of this one. Bug, aka Drudok, is like, I'm with my clutchmates, whatever they do, I want to do. Shoji, a former Templar, says he's going to protect the city. Najila wants to protect the city and any knowledge that might be within it. And then, like I said, the Largeson brothers are outside wrestling around and deciding to build a shrine to their cousin Phoebus, who they miss so dearly. Obviously, we need to let the council know, so Salentithius and Lord Jackhammer go and visit King Tithien and let them know. He's not entirely surprised by the news, he kind of suspected it was coming, and he has spies in Urik, so he wasn't surprised, but he does promise to bring it up in the council meeting. So as we're leaving, Rickus is going in to speak to King Tithien, and we're kind of like, what's up with that? So when we get to the council meeting, on the docket for the day is land reform, but Tithien quickly quashes that because we've got more pressing matters to deal with. He tells everyone how King Manu is marching an army on Tyr, and he also says that he has set up 3 generals, Rickus, Stein, and Senator Gisela. There is no army though, so to speak, so we're gonna have to do some recruiting. And Aegis wants to send us to go see Senator Vildine. And well, you know, we've got a couple Largesons, so why not send the most intimidating people? So Halvar, Lord Jackhammer, Kilbig, and Sage, because, you know, she eats people, so she's intimidating, all go to the senator's house. Outside, there's 6 half-giants, so we roll to see if any are Largeson brothers, and none of them are, which is to be expected because it's like a 1 in 100, but even less likely than that in all reality. Because Lord Jackhammer and Halvar are council members, we easily get in to go talk to the senator. We're asked to leave our weapons outside. Kilbig pouts about it, but he finally does, and Sage is like, oh, this is just my walking stick. I can't walk without it, a la Gandalf. And so she gets in with her quarterstaff. So after making us wait for a while, the senator comes out, and he's like, you know, what's going on? What do you want? And Lord Jackhammer goes, we're here to choke you. And Halvar goes, no, 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 we're here to convince you. To which Kilbig says, no, we want your consent to choke you. Yep, way to send the diplomats, everybody. So the senator is unwilling to give us anybody for the army. And then he changes his tune a bit. He says, okay, give me money for 10 metal swords or 10 metal swords, and I will give you troops. But we're not stupid, despite the present company. And it becomes very apparent that he plans on using these 10 swords against Tithien. Because he likes his comfortable life, he will help out the invaders. Finally, he feels threatened enough by the Largeson, especially when they ask if his servant Hanfros wants to become the head of this household, so he agrees to send troops after a little Largeson strong-arming. Meanwhile, elsewhere in the town, Sal, Najila, Nibbles, and Shoji are chilling, and they run into Hasseval the Templar. And he's like a beady little manipulative guy, and Shoji does not like him. Basically, he says that there is trouble brewing from the Templar, and none of them want to go join this army because they don't like the generals that have been set up in place. He says that instead they want to put in Templar Gariris so that he can lead the Templar. But Shoji knows that Gariris is a nice guy, but he's an idiot, and he would never think to do this himself, so he knows that somebody's putting him up. Hasseval won't name names, but it quickly becomes apparent that it's him. He wants to use Gariris as a puppet. Finally though, when he realizes that he's getting nowhere with Shoji, he disappears off and basically says, there's gonna be trouble for you. After that, everybody returns back to House Largeston, and at the gates, Rickus is waiting for us. And that was the end of episode 5. Not a lot happened, but I mean, getting new characters and figuring out what the state of Tyr is, I mean, it's setting us up for something big for episode 6, right? One would assume. If you have any questions, make sure to pop them down below. Also, hit that like button and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next week for episode 6. And I actually took her subclass, I guess is what it is. No, I don't know what that is, so let's Google it.